Star's Kayla Mamalak has checked out their story. So how did they do it?
That is the big question we're going to investigate this morning, Lori and Rosanna. Do me a favor first. Try to think of a public school district anywhere across the tri-state that's had full-time, in-person learning for all grades since September. The reality is there are few and far between. Some may call it a sign of the times, but not in Hoboken. Nestled between the headlines and seemingly endless debate over how to open classrooms safely amid a global pandemic, quietly sits the Hoboken Public School District.
Logical means the obvious thing to do that makes sense.
Where Superintendent Dr. Christine Johnson doesn't really get what all the fuss is about.
We have been in school full-time, 8:15 to 3 o'clock every day, 5 days a week since September.
That's for all grades, preschool through high school. This is the kind of thing that passes for abnormal these days. Full-time in-person learning is something you'd be hard-pressed to find at any other public school district in New Jersey, or across large swaths of the country for that matter. But Dr. Johnson says it's working.
We've had adult cases, we've had student cases, but we've stuck to our plan.
The plan all in lockstep with CDC guidelines. Face masks, social distancing, shields on desks, ventilation, and testing. Lots and lots of testing. If a student is positive for COVID-19, they'll contact Trace, isolate those exposed, and the class will shift to remote learning for 14 days. But they won't shut down an entire building unless the school's positivity rate exceeds 5%, something none have come close to.
The pandemic forced educators onto a road for which there was no map, and I think our mindset was, we need to find a way or make one.
Charles Bartlett is the principal at Joseph F. Brandt Elementary. He says last summer when Dr. Johnson first told him she was planning on getting kids back in classrooms full time, he was on board immediately. But it wasn't the case for everyone.
I lost my brother to COVID, and it was difficult.
Fourth grade teacher Rosanna was scared. Returning to in-person instruction so soon after the death of her brother felt like a risk to her own health.
But I knew that remote wasn't what the kids needed.
Why?
They need to be engaged. They need to be interacting.
Still, Lucignano says there was no pressure on her to come back. In fact, Dr. Johnson told all teachers, staff, and students the decision was theirs to make. Anyone who didn't feel comfortable returning was offered remote learning. In September, just 48% of families opted into classroom instruction. Today, 68% of kids in the district are learning in person full-time.
A lot of the schools around us, they're in for completely online. Their whole schedules are different, and I've heard how much they're struggling, and I'm so grateful to be able to be in person.
That's the reaction you'll get from nearly every Hoboken student you speak with. Grateful for something most of us took for granted when we were that age.
I have so many friends I can talk to.
Their eyes aren't glossy from staring at a screen all day. They're engaged.
I'm a person who asks a lot of questions usually, and it's really hard to do that on remote.
It's better to understand when you're actually talking to someone in person.
And it's clear they're smiling, even with masks on.
We just have to make the best of the situation. This is the best.
Many adding they're relieved Zoom is a thing of the past.
If I had any troubles with anything, my mom would have to help me. And she's not the best with that type of stuff.
And the education staff agrees. But Dr. Johnson insists there's no big secret to their success. They just came prepared. The mindset never if they're reopening, but how.
Let's come together and come up with this plan, this very specific plan that we won't deviate from, that will allow us to do this in the safest manner possible.
As for Miss Lucignano, she's been teaching her fourth graders in person since the fall and says she couldn't be happier. There hasn't been any COVID cases in her class to date. Plus, she feels an extra layer of protection now that she's vaccinated. What do you say to teachers in other districts who are wary of coming back?
Come back. It's life. I mean, this is life. They need you. These kids need us, and I need them.
Well, ironically, just yesterday, Governor Phil Murphy called for all New Jersey students to be back in classrooms by this upcoming September. By that time, the Hoboken School District will be marking 1 year of doing just that. So I asked several Hoboken administrators what needs to change for more educators to feel more comfortable coming back. They all have the same simple answer. The conversation needs to be shifted back to what's best for the kids. Rosanna?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I know you were talking about Jersey and public schools, but the Catholic schools in the 5 boroughs, they've been open since day one.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, in New York City, Mayor de Blasio has often touted it as the gold standard, but they've really only been open a few days a week, a few hours of the week.
And by the way,
Open, closed.
the teachers are not even in the classrooms.
Right, a lot of the classrooms are virtual teachers, so this is the real deal. And teachers, educators, students, families all seem very happy with it.
All right, well,
They have the right formula, for sure.
we're all, just trying to get back to normal. I know,
Thank
safely.
you so much, Kayla.
Thank you. By the way, I missed the yellow memo too.